Walker Talker. The Walker Talker. Walker Talker.
Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. So let's get to talking.
Welcome to the Walker Talkers indeed, and welcome back to PanNerdia. AA Ron here.
I'm Pete. Time for Rick.
Yes, and time to discuss episode 5 of season 9 of The Walking Dead, and or Rick Grimes' last episode.
Yes.
So we got a lot to talk about here, guys. But first, before we get into everything we got to discuss, let's give a little opening scene.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, let me pop some things up here for everybody. Blam. And blam.
Ah, yes. The belt.
Do it.
Ooh. I thought he was going to use the horse like this, but this is... Wow. And then the noise that it makes when it finally comes out.
I know, dude. That would hurt. Oh, I cannot imagine the pain there. Oh, and then, of course, you can't stop to, like, assess any of that pain because you have a giant horde of walkers. You know, that horde of walkers.
Two hordes
right there.
converging.
Oh, yeah, that. I mean, so you got a lot to worry about in that situation. But, oh, man.
What I'd have to say, my initial reaction, though, is that scene. Like I have to talk about that scene in the reactions here. That would be like, you know, in the past... It starts out in a passed-out dream state, pre-coma style, you know, pre-apocalypse. Rick is talking to current Rick. So there's like two versions of Rick in an Atlanta high-rise hospital, and he wakes himself up, and what does he do? He uses his belt to shimmy up and de-skewer himself.
Yeah,
he crawls
crazy.
to the horse, seems to have no choice but to lead the double herd down the one road that's left at the intersection, the one that's straight to the unfinished bridge. That appears to be holding strong, though, but we'll talk about that later.
Right.
But the whole thing from the cinematography and the CG stuff like you're seeing here on the picture of him talking to himself and everything, to him de-skewering himself and riding on the horse, like, wow. Like, and
that's just the start of the episode. I mean, that's before the credits.
I don't think I've had
title.
I don't think I've been wowed like that in an opening scene in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it really got you. And in that whole scene where he's, like, holding his wound, and you hear the sound clip of Morgan asking him, "What's your wound?" You know?
Yes.
And he's holding the blood, and it's dripping off, and it's so grotesque. And then he wakes up, he's like, "Oh, shit, I got this fucking..."
the first of, like, 5 characters that asked him, "What's your wound?"
Oh, yeah.
Right before he goes into the whole, like, dream state, he hears of... One time, like, before he saw Shane, it was Lori that said it.
Mm-hmm.
Before he... I don't know. I think Herschel might have asked once or something like that. Or maybe someone else. I forget. But, anywho, synopsis time, right?
Let's do it. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of this episode.
Here's a short synopsis because I know Rick had a lot of great conversations in his dream state. We'll get to that in the meat of the show. But so Rick struggles to escape the rebarb skewering and searches his mind for a way to find his family and lead the herd to save the others. As he figures this out, slipping into a hallucinating coma state, he speaks with himself in a hospital, Shane in Atlanta, and at the roadside shootout where Rick first got shot in episode 1, scene 1. And also with Herschel in Herschel's barn, and I think that's the same spot that him and like Chandler Riggs had their, you know, Carl had their first serious conversation, and he like gave him the gun and all that. And with Sasha, of course, after exiting the hospital through those famous doors that say, you know, stay out. Yeah, in an infinite wasteland of bodies. But his final conversation in this state was with a living person. It was Michonne, giving him that last bit of strength to wake up finally for the last time and continue. And Michonne in all has to deal with a crowbar wielding Maggie, but we'll get to that later. But you know, that's pretty much the synopsis. Michonne's back home, Maggie's there to face Negan. Meanwhile, the whole rest of it is Rick trying to save everyone while he's dying,
Yes.
and a little bit of Jada sprinkled in there of her trying to find a clearing to meet up with the helicopter people.
Right, the ARB people.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, all I got to say is this episode definitely threw us for a loop in many different ways, and I could definitely see that jumping point they were talking about. And when it comes to Rick, I mean, yeah, we were a little disappointed with, episode 4 and how we thought he was going out. And we figured, okay, this episode's just going to have to make it up with the cinematography, the special effects, and all that kind of, reflection he was having in his head.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up panning out not only that way, in a good way, and met our expectations, our negative ones that we had about how he was dying, and then flipped it on us in an interesting way. And I think that's a great way to talk about the outcomes.
Oh,
from
sure.
this episode.
Absolutely. I mean, so we know, one of the outcomes was, Negan was going to get obliterated in the melon by the crowbar, but then, that didn't go as planned because she basically saw him as
So how weak he really
worse
was
than dead, as she says. You're worse than dead. And
I mean,
that
he
is
was
that.
literally crying on the ground, and whether you, as a fan, thought that, you felt sympathy for him, that's up to you guys. I didn't really feel it for him.
I mean, the confrontation between Michonne and Maggie outside the jail entrance was pretty good, but she handed over those keys, and hence we had the, you're worse than dead outcome. But
Right.
as far as Rick's concerned, though, when he woke up on one of those occasions, he found himself at the camp right by the bridge, and what did he see? But he saw walkers that were a mix of people from Kingdom and those saviors that attacked him. So there was a showdown. We know Carol lived, and Jerry, because we see them in the end.
Yeah.
But there was a showdown where there was a good number of people from both sides that went down. He discovers this, and Rick alerts everyone. And during all this, Jadis tries to finds him at the end. But the thing is that outcome of Rick being rescued by Jadis, I kind of want to talk about that outcome a little bit further in when we just talk about Rick only.
Yeah, we will. We'll get more
after
into
we talk
that,
about some of the other characters.
Right.
But that outcome was so huge that it shocked even me. I mean, I was just waiting for him to die and turn, and waiting, and boy, I mean, we thought on many occasions every time he woke up, he was about to get his throat ripped out.
Right, because it'd be somebody saying, "Wake up!" All this delusion he was having. The person he was meeting with would say, "Wake up!" right on time, and it was always like a walker being like, "Blah blah," and he's just like, "Ah," okay. Well, I will agree that the characters, and we can talk about this more in our character section. So I'll just save it. I'll save it for this. I'll say this. I'll say one thing though. One of the characters that were in his flashbacks really had no significance or even emotional kind of significance that really needed to hold that scene together. That character that was inserted there did not work well. I will say that right now. In terms of outcomes, I would have changed that to probably 5 or 6 different characters you could have went with.
Carl being number 1?
Yeah, Carl being number 1, but whatever. I get they're probably not going to work with him right now, the actor. But
I might as well just I'll skip that part, but just talk about Rick real quick.
Okay.
As far as, because this outcome of this show was so huge that it separated the entire Walking Dead universe. It expanded it, and it's
and it almost, with what it could have been, it almost dismantled a lot of fans significance with the show. We
were ready to drop out with no Rick.
We're gonna jump off the bandwagon.
Carl's one thing. Rick is what?
And obviously, by the way we're talking, something happened with Rick where we're still on board.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just going to talk about what had happened to Rick from the point where, waking up after falling off the horse in the middle of the bridge camp. He's bleeding profusely. The herds are coming. The fresh turned walkers we talked about are coming after him, and then the herds are catching up as well. He makes his way to the bridge, hallucinates. Everyone is saving him.
Right.
That was a weird thing to happen because they all of a sudden appeared, but of course you knew it wasn't true because when Michonne was speaking to him and pumping him up and talking to him, giving him that speech about that you're a fighter, and that's what I like about you the most. You're a fighter, and we live, we move on, and all that, and that motivated him to wake up. And they did show up, but just on the outer bank of the bridge / river there.
Right.
But I guess I'll continue. So as he snaps out of it, he makes across the bridge, but the bridge is holding the walkers. It's holding strong. Daryl and all of the main characters do arrive, but because they're at the riverbank, there's only so much they can do. So Daryl starts, shooting arrows to save Rick. Rick uses his hatchet. Everyone is watching, rushing to divert the walkers. It's not working. The herd is gigantic, and that's what's so great about his last episode on the show is, it had to do with a real humongous herd. And Rick spots the knocked over explosives in the middle of the bridge. You can see he's holding a gun in one of our pictures here. He basically looks at everyone and says goodbye with just his eyes.
Pretty much.
He fires, and in this whole time he's in and out of the hallucinations, he's trying to find his family. But at that point, he's like, "Wait, this is my family.
Yeah,
all these people that I'm saving right now.
Right.
That's my family. I found them." Not, He thought when he was talking to Herschel, he was like, "Well, can I find him in heaven? Can I just die?" Kind of thing,
right.
In short. But once he blows the bridge himself, he blows off to the side or in the smithereens. As far as everyone's watching is concerned, Rick's dead. That's how he dies. No chance to be a walker when you're blown to bits.
At that point, we kind of thought, okay, that works, I guess. He blew up. That's pretty crazy. Sacrifice.
Right. So, then we're finally at the final outcome, and that's the whole Jadis thing / Anne. She's guiding an A helicopter. The helicopter has an A on it. And she renegotiates herself with a possible A for a friend that needs saving. So the A friend she is talking about is a B, but she has something for them now that this is such a great B, they're going to really like it. And she convinces them somehow by just saying that. It's something that...
and it looked like she was ready to apprehend them. She had a gun.
Yeah, she was. She was probably... And I thought when she was driving the meat truck and she broke down and ran out of gas or whatever... Thought, okay, she had an A in the back. Who's the A? Who's the A? Turns out she had nothing. She was willing to fight her way onto the helicopter or whatever. But lo and behold, she sees the charred walker parts flowing downriver where she was by her clearing.
Monkey.
And there's
Rick washed
breathing.
Yeah, breathing. So, I mean, hey, and if you watch the episode, when he shoots that diamond and blows up, literally, right here in this scene, it shows him blowing back for one frame before it goes. So
sure. When
I was collecting these images today, that explosion right there, right before that explosion scene, because I stopped the frame, he's going. You see him go, his face stretches back and everything, he gets blasted.
That's the third explosion that he didn't die from. Him and Daryl fighting over the. Remember that truck that went off the side of the road and that all blew up? How did they survive that? And then this. This is crazy, but how beautiful was it, watching all the charred walkers
seeing Rick
flopping in and
rolling in and then rolling away on a helicopter.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, this was the last episode of The Walking Dead with Rick Grimes, but The Walking Dead is not done with Mr. Andy Lincoln.
No, sir.
But let's go ahead and move on to something for you guys. Ooh. Something a little different, something a little special this time. Yeah, it's the fan's choice.
Choice number 1.
But we wanted to kind of, spice it up and go back to the roots of The Walking Dead and just ask you guys some simple Walker questions. So let me kind of get those set up here for you real quick,
8 1/4 seasons of Rick. There's 8 1/4 seasons of amazing Walkers. Some of them more unique than others.
You're right.
And, there's a lot of top 5, top 10s out there for, fans of The Walking Dead. And, well...
Oops.
Where should we start here?
Let me get rid of this one. Here you go. Okay, go.
Right.
I had 2 words floating over each other.
Oh.
Well, we should start with 5 walkers, famous, gruesome walkers. Some of the best practical effects we've seen in the show, and we wanted to share it with you guys who we thought were the 5 best and what you guys think is the best crazy walker. Starting with the Barnacle Walker here.
Yes, Oceanside Walker. We've also seen this in Fear the Walking Dead. They've got literal barnacles and all kinds of sea life. They're almost called coral reef walkers because there's things living in their cavities, things growing off their faces.
It's pretty gnarly, man. I like the idea that barnacles and other little sea life can grow on something that's been living in the water. But
there's a classic one right there.
And before we get to these crazy guys, as it loops through again, we'll go on to the next guy, which you saw after the Barnacle Walker, which there he is again. But the next one on the list is the kind of Art of War
Oh, Art of War, yeah.
Yeah, this crazy.
Oh yeah,
effer
right there.
Here.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't tell. Now I can see where his head is. His head is that big metal thing with the spikes coming out of
Right,
it,
his
as
mouth
well as spikes
exposed.
coming up. Yeah, so it's like the Jadis made a series of these things that Rick has defeated, and they're, for me personally, I think they're the coolest because she made them where they can't get their heads chopped off or their heads
Right.
stabbed, but their mouth is still there to chomp away. Like, whoo!
And then not only that, they have spikes and other metal sharp objects all over their body.
We'll
so
call
there's-
them warfare walkers.
Right, with a little artistic
Yes.
touch.
Yes.
All right, so next on the list, which we're coming right around here, it is the. Let's see, man, he's gnarly looking, man.
Fungi. Oh no, not yet.
No, this is the swamp walker.
Oh
here.
yeah, swamp
The one
walkers.
they found in the swampy, mossy area.
Yeah, there was a couple different episodes that had swamp walkers. One of them was after Carl had died, and I think Sadiq and the whole crew, they were like trying to take a shortcut to bypass the Saviors, and they all kind of came up. Matter of fact, if you look in the archives of the Walker Talkers, our show, I think we open up with that scene.
Oh, we do open up with
and
a swamp scene.
That
yeah.
is a great scene. I mean, oh man, the fact that they made a little mini fake lake in the middle of like the woods, you know, like a little 2 feet deep thing. That was brilliant. I mean, it looked so real.
Swamp walkers would be pretty gnarly, man, and they'd probably even carry more funky disease with them. So you got to think about that as well.
And they hold a tradition to like all kinds of old movies, you know, besides Swamp Thing, all, you know, different various horror movies and stuff like
Right.
that. It reminded me of all kinds of.
The next is
creature
this
from the
guy
lagoon and
here.
stuff.
Whoops. Well, we'll go talk about him. We'll go back to the last guy. This one is the mushroom walker,
Fungi.
the fungi walker, which is a very interesting one because it's a nod kind of to the Last of Us video game, which their zombies are fungal zombies. These are viral zombies in The Walking Dead, but there's fungus growing on that bad boy there.
Sure thing. I mean, just mushroom layer after mushroom layer. It looks like the logs piled up in the woods behind my house.
Yeah,
only
right.
The dude's face.
It's gnarly, man. I mean, and in that terms, like, is the mushroom getting any benefit from that?
That must have taken forever to put that on. That dude
Oh,
that
I
had to
bet.
wear all
That's a
that.
big
He
prosthetic,
must have
I
sat in a
bet.
chair for like 16 hours or something.
I guess unless the mushroom's poisonous, you really wouldn't have to worry about that walker too much. He'd be pretty much the typical walker.
That'd be the end of me. I'm allergic to mushrooms, but maybe I would trip on my way out and getting the virus.
Oh, there you go. Right. He was just a special kind of mushroom on that walker. The last walker, which we want to get a nod to, and the fifth choice for you guys, he'll be coming around the mountain when he comes, is the riot gear walkers, seen in many different fashions, especially in season 2 when they're clearing out the prison.
Yeah, clearing out the prison, the riot gear. There's all kinds of various masks and padding and whatnot.
This one in particular is the one with riot gear and gas mask. The one where Maggie finally removes the gas mask. Maggie or Rick, I forget.
You
who
know
does.
that gas mask
It
was probably
rips the
airtight
face.
the whole time he was decaying.
Oh, it's
There's
so
no
nasty.
oxygen in there while his face was decaying.
It's like a wet tissue coming off of something.
That
It's
is a classic.
It's gross.
Classic scene when that's removed, and you just see like all the insides. It's like, what's that exhibit that they have? Bodies, the exhibit where they show
yeah,
like
they show, like, the-
slices of people open and stuff. I mean, that's what it was like, only like moving around and like gushing everywhere.
So, what do you guys think? Out of those 5 walkers, they're all pretty gnarly. We got the Swamp Walker. That one's going to have some funky, vile, additives to it. Be pretty sketchy to run into a swamp, and you wouldn't see it coming. We also got the Barnacle Walker. That one's a little gnarly as well. Maybe slightly some natural armor from those barnacles. A little hardened skin. It's soft. It stinks. Watch out for that guy. We also have the... what do we got? But they got the Fungus Walker. That one you don't have to worry about too much. Perhaps if the mushrooms, contagious or something like that, it's poisonous. You got to worry about him, but he's not too bad. Then we got the Riot Walker, right? That one's a little more gruesome. Not only is he kind of decaying under that mask, but he's got some body armor on. It's gonna be a little tougher to kill, especially the ones that have those helmets. And then last but not least, we have the Art of War, or the Battle Ready Walker, the one that Jadis made with a little artistic touch. All those blades, metal poured over, and mouth exposed. You can't stab or cut that mother effer. He'll be doing it to you. So
there was one other metal walker that wasn't her doing. Remember?
Oh, the one that the smelting accident.
Yeah, the one they went to find a bullets factory to make bullets. Yeah, that was like, holy cow! when Abe asked him to kill a walker, I'm like, yeah, oh, he's gonna do it now. Look, the thing is like half metal.
Yeah, it's all right. Another nod to something walker that had to deal with hot stuff are the charred walkers from when the fire Beth and Daryl made.
Absolutely.
I think we should give a nod to that one, but there aren't the choices. You know.
Well, there's a lot of Fear the Walking Dead and regular Walking Dead where we see charred walkers in large groups. I mean, even before we even knew who Negan was, we were finding charred walkers in the woods. Remember?
Right? Yeah. And
so,
like burn piles.
And of course, when Daryl charred a whole bunch of them into the little mini lake in the middle of Alexandria with the freaking rocket launcher. Yes, we have to give props to all the charred walkers.
Yeah, charred walkers are important. So, what do you guys think? Which walker would you hate? Or would you think is the worst to run into out in the apocalypse? Yeah. Let us know. And while you ponder on that, we'll get a little friend over here to help us out real quick. Hey there, Jackson. Could you come outside of the grave? Oh, there he is. Hey, what's going on, man? What's cracking? Hey, we got a little question for you. What do the fans think? What's the fans' choice for this? Who would be the worst walker to run into, Jackson? Let us see.
Well,
Maybe you got a little envelope in your ribcage there, homie.
Oh, I guess I believe it. Hold on for a second.
He says that hurts him every time. You do the... Okay, there we go. All right. And the fans have chosen...
I don't know what he does with an envelope, but it smells like discharge.
Art of War.
Art of War. Yes.
You guys know which one that is. That's the gnarly...
I have to agree with you guys because the fact that, the ocean walkers, the coral reef ones, and the mushroom fungi walkers, they're probably too slow-moving, kind of sloshy, kind of probably, they're handicapped, so to speak, where you got this warfare art walker, Art of War. I mean, look out. That's the most dangerous thing out there, I think. Yeah,
granted, that one was in the confines of a scrapyard, but imagine that thing out in the wild. Yeah. No bueno.
Right. At least the swamp walkers are confined to their swamp,
Right.
Even though they're classic as they are, the big jaw, big mouth walkers in Walking Dead, also got to holler out to those.
Oh, yeah.
How many of we've seen in those in big, like, mid-season premiere or mid-season finales, where they're, like, marching along, and there's always a gruesome one like that. Matter of fact, they started season 9 in downtown
with a
DC.
couple of them, like, walking right by.
Yeah, there was a pretty brutal one there, too.
I'm a cool zombie. Yeah. Alrighty, so thank you guys for joining in with Fans Choice number 1. We always have fun with that one, and it's always a good time. So we're gonna go ahead and move on and talk about some important character interactions that happened in episode 5 of season 9, and
some of the best.
not only with characters in the present, but characters from the past.
Yeah, so I guess we'll call them their ghosts. Shall we start with Shane?
I think we should start with Shane. Yes.
Why not? Let's see here, Shane.
He was the first one who Rick saw besides himself. In his,
right after Rick's conversation with himself, he finally woke up, and then he fell asleep again, and next thing you know, we got Shane. Rick keeps slipping out of his consciousness while on horseback. He finds a temporary safe spot to bandage up and pass out. What a classic little shed that was, too. Mm-hmm. The next dream, he is leading walkers into Atlanta. Suddenly, he approaches Shane on a lunch break in the squad car. And also then suddenly again, they are together having their lunch break, parked by the roadside shootout scene where Rick and Shane and co. didn't know that there was a third shooter. And that was that first scene of episode 1. Shane begs Rick to rekindle that throat-biting, red machete-slashing asshole Rick, and finally to wake up! And then Rick wakes up and there's a freaking walker about to chomp his neck open. In the same exact distance where Shane was saying "wake up," so Walker ah.
So I would like to point out I do like that they brought up the whole Judith thing. I do.
Oh yeah, how's my family? You're such an asshole.
Such an asshole. They are, yeah, right. And also that it's that almost like that part of Rick. Shane represents that much needed, aggressive, hardcore part of Rick that is needed in this apocalypse, and that has somewhat went dormant, especially since Carl passed. And I think it is very important and significant, not only from what the relationship is, and not only the fact that Rick is, the father of Shane's daughter's baby mama drama, but also because Shane represents that part of Rick that's kind of dormant right now.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything like that since season 8 when he was hunting Negan down. That was the most the most recent time we saw Rick
Kinda,
in
yes.
like total killer mode.
Right.
But also, I guess we could talk a little bit about Herschel because I mean, you know, he talked to Shane. Shane's kind of like almost like the devil, like telling
Yes,
him
I would
like
say
you know,
that.
find that hate, fight that anger, almost like the dark side, you know. Where this is the total opposite. Rick slips away again, but this time he's not with the rage, lust, devilish Shane. Rather, he is looking out from the conversation spot he once had with Carl I spoke about earlier in Herschel's barn. And, you know, Herschel's Walker barn, that is, overlooking his house and the fields and the sunset. And then Herschel himself with both legs and clean shaven, you know.
Yeah, they're
He's
about to go into
obviously
the
on
Westworld
the other
portal.
side. Yeah, very good. It's like, welcome to the, what do they call it, Westworld? The
I forget now.
but
The other side.
Yeah, look to the Sublime.
Sublime, that's what it was, yes.
But looking out over the amazing sunset, the crushing emotion as they embrace, as Rick apologizes for Beth, Glenn, and even his death, and how it all went down, it was so powerful and felt as if Herschel was his angel of light guide, you know,
Right.
telling him Maggie and Herschel II are strong, so don't worry about them, Rick.
I like that.
And that he can't look for his family. He's like, he can't find him here. And Rick was all teared up. He's like, oh, I thought I was going to heaven. I was finally going to see them. I mean, that's what it totally felt like, the way they shot it, the CG they put in.
Yeah.
But he needs to wake up once again, and he does wake up to a whole bunch of shit.
But hey, can I say hats off to Scott Wilson for his last performance. That was a great last performance. It was a beautiful scene. And
how great to have your last performance about someone that's like, you know.
Yeah, I know. It was a little
like eerie, but at the
eerie,
same time
but
beautiful.
beautiful. Yes, that the beautiful element of it supersedes the eeriness of the situation. But yes, I really enjoyed that. And well, let's mention this before we move on to anybody back into the normal world characters. The last character, and I mentioned this earlier, that Rick bumps into in his ethereal plane of disillusion is well, during the giant scene where there's bodies spread everywhere. He even sees walker bodies of people who are alive now.
Unfortunately, we have to talk about this one.
Somebody slowly stands up with their sassy ass.
The
And
way
who
she
else
rose
is
up.
Sasha?
Here, let's do it with Jackson.
Right.
Like, this is how she, all of a sudden, she goes from crouched position to, hey there. No, it's not Carl. It's not Lori. It's not anyone
Sasha.
else. It's Sasha.
Ah,
I mean,
man.
she made a good point. She did a good job. But
I
it
get
was
it. I get it.
kind of intense, which it should have been. But, like, the fact that she's, like, the last kind of person that he's hallucinating. Well, not necessarily last. He talks to Michonne. But,
right.
in this unconscious scene, it shows him exiting the hospital from those famous doors that say, you know, Walker, not Walker's dead on the other side or whatever.
Right.
And of course, next thing you know, not of course, but then to our surprise, he's in a field of everyone he's ever known dead, like a vastness of bodies. Sasha's chosen by the heads of production to be the third and final messenger, or angel of something, whatever. Because I'm trying to figure out, we got the bad one, we got the good one. Like,
Yeah,
I guess
right.
she's like
What
the
is she
one that's
supposed
like,
to be?
I don't know, like a messenger of some sort. That's what angel means in Greek, by the way,
Misplaced.
messenger. But
Oh, okay.
so he's in this unconscious state. She talks about how doing your part is all that matters, and of course to wake up. So she's basically, the main message was, the people in our past that died before us gave us the strength to pass on that strength to the others, and that's all that we're meant to do, is to pass on that, to keep going no matter what. And she did her part. You know, he's done his kind of thing. But we find out later that he's got a bigger part in the world of The Walking Dead.
And we'll definitely get to that here in a little bit. So what other characters do we got? to talk
Well,
about?
I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about Michonne and
Yeah, okay.
and Negan and
And
Maggie.
Maggie.
Kind
Okay,
of
those
like,
three?
as
I like that.
as a kind of trifecta.
I do. I like that. Okay. Let's do it.
I guess. Well,
Well, before we talk about Negan, we need to grab something over there.
oh yeah,
Something very important and integral to this
something
scene.
that Negan can't live without. And a matter of fact, he's ready to die by any means necessary with his words. Lucille.
Oh, dang. So that whole scene, so Maggie had already planned on, you saw from last episode, that's why Daryl was taking Rick to meet up with Maggie. Maggie was leaving to go confront Negan over in Alexandria, and she for sure makes it with her twisted metal crowbar action.
Oh my God! Some of the pictures.
Oh yeah.
Some of the things I saw, she's never looked so sexy, angry like that before. Holding the crowbar and having like the knife holster on the other side, and the famous Maggie jeans.
Oh yeah,
Maggie
I got a
green
picture of it
jeans.
in here somewhere. It'll pop up while we're talking
But
about it.
oh my goodness, but she's got a future still. We'll see how long she lasts. But
Right.
you know, Maggie's she discovers Negan's broken. Right, that's the main part of this.
But before that, even she runs into Michonne, and she has a nice discussion with her about
Oh yeah,
the future of Negan and or what should be happening and what should have happened, and how she's waited for a year and a half to finally get to this moment to kill this mother effer.
and then Michonne's like, I'm now going to enter the title of this episode. What comes after? Are you ready for what comes after?
Right, because you're not. She's saying basically, you're not thinking clearly.
The
right now.
reaction of everyone else that's out there. Yeah.
Right, and she's like, you're not thinking clearly. You're being selfish about it. You're not thinking about what will be the outcome of this. So come on, Maggie, come on the show and we can talk some outcomes. All right, here on the Walker Talkers. Right, Pete?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We'll get her here on the show with us. She'll talk some outcomes.
She'll sit right here between me and Aaron.
Right where Jackson's at.
The green screen will be showing something like, I don't know, one of those heart-shaped hot tubs or something. And we'll have a nice serious talk about acting and walkers and special effects. Oh, and there's a nice picture right there.
Oh, there's the curly crowbar.
Yeah.
So yes, back to.
Well, she walks in, she sees Negan. Negan does this whole spiel of like, you know, I remember that I liked it actually killing your old man, whatever his name was, and blah 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 blah. She's about to unlock the door all the way, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Step into the light, step into the light." And he steps into the light, and he's like, "Oh my God!" He's like shriveled old, hairy man that's broke. And she throws him out of the cell against the wall, and he was like crying, like, I just want to be with my Lucille. And that's where she just makes up her mind, like, no, you're worse than dead. You know, get
You're
back
not
in
even
your
yourself.
cell and keep rotting.
So basically, he was taunting and pressing her in hopes that she would just kill him and end it.
Right.
He was doing that on purpose. He was antagonizing her for the sake of her killing him.
Yeah.
And she saw through his bullshit, obviously, once he was in the light. And she figured, you know what? He's going to have to suffer this way. And who knows? He could be even fooling us right now and doing a double switch.
Right. Only other character I can think of, man, is I think we already covered it, was Jadis, because she, besides the whole like Maggie trying to kill Negan through Michonne and all the stuff that Rick went through, Jadis was the only person that we first see, or Anne, I guess we can call her, and she's stalled on the road. She's got this icebox truck, and you think she's got a letter A in the back of there or something. Turns out, she makes contact with the walkie-talkie, and those people traders, I guess you want to call them, on the helicopter, to confirm her location as well as her package being a letter A. But we find out later that letter A is really non-existent because she's got the
gun.
pistol.
Yeah.
But when she sees Rick lying on the riverbed breathing, she makes sure they see with their binoculars that she throws the pistol down. And she's like, I gotta be. He saved my life. He is like worth it saving this and that. And they didn't say anything. They just landed. And then the music kicked on, and it was like, what?
It was Rick flying away.
I mean, I swear to God, I was watching on this very couch. I felt like I was flying away, like, this is everything I've ever wanted. Instead of like, I hate you, Gimple, for killing Rick. It was more like, finally, I've been asking for this. This season and last season of doing the Walker Talkers, I've been asking for a bigger global version of the Walking Dead world, with or without Andy Lincoln. It's like, have multiple shows at once. Why not?
Well, hey, we'll final blast that a little more, right? We're very excited. Put it that way.
We are. We're pumped
But one
up
more
and jacked.
character we forgot about that's mentioned and
Who's
talked
that?
about a little more. Well, it's Little Miss Judith Grimes, Little Miss
but
Ass
of
Kicker
course.
herself.
Of course.
Not only did we get to see her in her younger self, which looks nothing like the Judith we end the episode with, little 8-year-old Judith or whatever it is, who saves the Magna, right? Magna her name?
Yeah, Magna. Magna, Connie, Kelly, I think Yumiko and Luke are the 5 characters that she saves.
The 5 characters. You see what I'm doing right here?
Why are you whispering?
So back to Judith Grimes. She saves these new mystery people.
Yeah.
And
And the Walking Dead world did, all at once, have simultaneous "aww" because she was so goddamn cute.
She was, yeah. She put on her little hat. She had a little samurai sword and
Before
everything.
she could answer her name, she had to bend over, get her hat, put it on.
I'm
Who
you
the
now.
hell do you think I am?
It's pretty bad. She's basically like the embodiment of like Carl, Rick, and Michonne all in one little person. So I'm excited to see where she goes, and this is like a 3 to 4 year time skip in the next
They said
3 episodes.
They said a little more than 4.
Wow,
So 4
there you
going
go.
on 5 years time skip. That's quite the time skip. So it's going to be interesting to see the attitudes of all our main characters. You know, like how they all throughout Walking Dead have changed. You know, certain deaths and stuff have taken their toll on different characters a certain way, and they've totally changed. I mean, they've gone from like, full of fear to completely fearless, and then hating themselves and then hating everyone else.
Right.
So let's see what Daryl's like, what Negan's like, what Maggie's like. 4 and so many years later, 4 or 5 years later.
All right. So let's go ahead and go into what we appreciate about this. And we'll say this real quick, guys.
Yeah.
Now, since we're kind of delving into this little review a little more now, we're going to be getting more Rick heavy on our appreciations, and especially not only with how the outcome was, and we'll say it playing out here now since you pretty much figured out through our review. Rick didn't die. Rick's on a helicopter. He's heading to a different place, and it's awesome. And he is for sure done with the show. But, Pete, would you like to tell them what's in the future of Rick Grimes?
Spoiler alert. Rick's alive, bitches.
And where's Rick heading in the cinematic universe, I guess?
I believe AMC movie series. 2 movies at least. We don't know if they're going to hit the cinema first, then AMC, or simultaneously, have their debut kind of like Survival Sunday was with the combo of
I'm hoping more higher
shows.
budget, like real deal movies, I'm hoping.
That would be awesome. But the fact that he is going away in a helicopter and we're going to see more of a global view on what's going on. And I'm sure everything is kind of equally decayed across the globe. But as far as how people have survived and how many and where at, I think we're going to learn about this. And I'm super excited. And I'm super excited for maybe another 4-year time skip once his movies are over. And he comes back and he just decides to step on Negan's head with a steamroller.
Yes, he gets Rick acquires a steamroller that he puts spikes on, and that's his new Rickmobile. So let's go ahead and appreciate some things, Pete.
Oh man, you want to go first or should I?
I'll go ahead and do a quick appreciation because mine isn't probably as structured. All in all, I really appreciated what they did with this episode, what they did with Rick Grimes' last episode, indeed. Not only with, meeting our expectations, like I said earlier, not necessarily negative, but we had expectations that, okay, Rick's going to kind of carry on. He's going to have hallucinations. Then he's going to probably end up saving the day and dying at the same time. They met all those, but they exceeded it as they were telling that story and then went further beyond with the end of the episode and having Rick expand the universe even further. So I really appreciate that. And all in all, I appreciate that they finally did a time skip and they're pushing forward with these new arcs, especially the Whisperers arc. And I appreciate that this is all still within the first half of season 9, and we still have 3 episodes before the mid-season finale. So I appreciate, in all honesty, the tenacity of this episode. That's what I appreciate. You guys did it well. You guys kept 2 fans who were seemingly about to drop a show that we've been super fans of for years, you fucking fish hooked us.
If we would have known each other back when the show started, we probably would have been doing this show years ago.
Right.
This is our only 2nd season of the Walker Talkers, but we thought it was going to be our last.
We've been watching it since day one.
We've coined it as our 2nd and last season many a times, but with this new expansion, we may have to have a secondary show, not just this one.
We ain't over yet.
Yeah.
So I need to say I appreciate it a bunch. Pete, what do you appreciate?
Well, I'm gonna just because of all the things we saw, from the birds becoming helicopters to the vastness of dead bodies and all that stuff, we're not going to see in every Walking Dead episode. But I understand it was well needed for Rick's last episode. Not Rick dies, but Rick's last episode on this show. So we'll see characters like Rick and Morgan possibly now merge together. So I appreciate those decisions. But as far as episode 5 goes, as sentimental as all the things were said that we talked about when we did our character segment, I have to say that I appreciate at the very end, before we met Judith, the last thing we saw was that clearing and the chopper lifting off with Rick. You know, and Jada's saying, I'm going to save you, and she's all teary-eyed and stuff. But as it floats away, it disappears, and as it disappears, the camera zooms out a little more, and all those trees that you see that are small, and the grass that's kind of short, and all of a sudden you see the time lapse, and now the trees are huge, and the dead trees are now falling over, and the grass is taller, and there's this like RV in the background that people are running from.
Oh yeah.
And that's Magna, Connie, Kelly, Yumiko, and Luke that eventually get saved by Judith running from there.
Yeah,
so it literally gives you like a time lapse of just nature in general. So just amazing to think that we're going to see everything that happened with Rick in that time in these movies.
It's pretty exciting times, guys, and like we said, just the fact that there was a time lapse in general, how we caught up to to the Whispers arc. Everybody's been wanting.
Finally,
and,
too bad Rick and Carl aren't dealing with it, because that was so exciting in the comic that those two characters, the way they dealt with and the relationships they had in that whole series or arc, I guess you would call it. You know what? We've gone 41 minutes, but we should preview the preview.
Yeah.
For the next episode that's airing currently.
Normally we do a Fan's Choice 2 around this time, guys, but
there's no way a 4-year time jump you're gonna know who's next.
We don't really know who's next right now, so we're gonna go ahead and skip that. We had plenty more to talk about this episode.
Blorp, blorp, Robert.
And Robert's coming in with the blorp, and we wanted a blorp, and Jackson give you a nice little blorp.
Blorp, blorp.
Blorp to you, Robert. And
Lucille just blorped on you.
So we're gonna go ahead and preview.
And it's not just a regular preview.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
This is they're like Michonne's voice, Denai's voice was like on episodes 6, 7, and 8 of The Walking Dead.
Right.
So these previews are all who knows what order they're put in, but they're for the next three. And the next 3 is the rest of this half of the season before they go on that winter break.
So here we go, guys.
Enjoy.
Let's take a sneak peek.
And I never will.
Long-haired Carol. Little
Curse
Jewish
the
ass
witch.
kicker. Daryl is looking the same. Yeah, no, Carol does look like kind of.
Daryl full of expression as usual.
Let me guess.
There's Mag.
You want to help.
And there's
Negan got a shave. Oh,
and he's got a relationship with a little ass kicker too, which is probably back to Carl one.
Right, that's a shout out to the Carl relationship.
Okay, so the water towers we've been seeing finally. They're gonna be talking to those.
That's how they get to the, I believe, Commonwealth eventually.
Oh, and here comes the Whispers.
Ooh, this is-
Eugene and Rosita hiding with the mud. They're going, where are they? They're like, what the fuck? Are walkers talking, or are they the walker-talkers? We're the walker-talkers, motherfuckers.
Walker-tucker. Well, I mean, that's pretty amazing right there. That's a pretty good trifecta. Aaron, Jesus, and Daryl.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, that's the trifecta you want to be on your side.
And then they're out there noticing that the walker hordes are moving regularly.
Yeah, they're just sort of like wandering around together. They're not like going in one direction like they always do.
Right, something's like maybe they have some. That looks pretty badass. So maybe we'll see some Jesus fighting finally.
So yeah, we're gonna have Whispers the rest of the way here. It looks, everyone.
Yeah, I mean we're pretty excited with that preview.
The first thing I noticed was Michonne ditched the headcloth gear and the tank top for dreadlocks, like dreadlock bangs rather, and a Rick Tatership shirt. Like, did you notice that? Like she had her hair was kind of banged out, and she had kind of like a Rick top, whatever. It's like a denim top or something.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So it's kind of like she was taking on that whole Rick role in a way. Daryl seems to take a trip and discover something on his own. So he's not doing the leader thing 4 years later. He's out there like investigating, doing what he does best, tracking and whatnot. Carol looks like an elf from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
like what's
she
that?
does.
It's like, really, come
Like out of
on.
The Witcher, yeah.
She doesn't look attractive at all with that witch hair. Sorry. And Melissa McBride, you're a beautiful woman. But
we didn't see Maggie in that preview.
wig
Just letting
was
you guys
not
know.
good. Well, someone's getting advice from Negan, and it's obviously, you just said Judith, probably.
Judith, I think,
but I
yeah.
believe Michonne's probably walking in there and talking to him as well.
I didn't see Maggie in it, though. I'll tell you that much.
That's true. I did not see much of Maggie. Eugene, though, was, he was stabbing away like no problem. Like, finally, it
So you
took
got confidence,
him
maybe?
forever, but the water tower radio thing, outreach program, shades of the comic there. You already mentioned that. Eugene and Rosita, Jesus, Daryl, Aaron. Those are the main characters we're going to be watching battle the Whispers or die by the hands of the Whispers.
So, can we throw out any predictions? Not only for these last 3 episodes of this half of the season, but possibly just a general prediction for Mr. Rick Grimes' future.
General prediction for his future?
After we predict real quick what's going to happen on these 3 episodes.
I predict he goes to like Nova Scotia or something.
Okay, Canada.
And that's just a like satellite to a much bigger community that once he's rehabilitated they take him to, and it might be Europe, wherever in Europe it might be. I think that would be ideal for him to work close to home, and that might have been part of the deal. So I'm kind of looking at my prediction in the big picture of how these guys make decisions, considering that was a big issue with Andy Lincoln,
right?
Was being away from his little kids and London, England, and all that. So maybe now it might not be England, it might be filmed in England, but based in another part of Europe. So that's my prediction. What about yourself?
I think for Mr. Lincoln, I think if anything, if he doesn't necessarily go to somewhere in Europe, which I hope they do, somewhere in a different part of the world, I think Canada's a good place. Wherever he goes, that society will have connections with other places across the world, and that's how they know information, and then that'll give us little windows into other scenarios in other places of the world.
Quick prediction for tonight's episode, if
Yes.
you're watching us during a commercial break or whatever, but we didn't see any Maggie, you're right.
Right.
We did not see any Ezekiel. Perhaps their heads end up on pikes via whispers, a la comic book.
Now, they didn't mention anything about Maggie's last episode, but so we're not sure.
Yeah.
Right? They're not
Maggie's
hyping
last
her up.
episode's a helicopter picks her up.
Right.
A boat.
Oh, another one, huh? So as far as the predictions tonight and for the next 3 episodes, I think we'll see a lot of Judith. Obviously, we got the Whispers coming in. I don't think they'll make the connection. Okay, I'll put it this way. I think they will make the connection of these newcomers and the Whispers in the final moments of the mid-season finale.
Yes.
The carryover for next season. But I think as far as these next 3 episodes, it's going to be us picking up where we left off. It's going to be introducing Judith. It's going to be showing some action, but it's mainly going to be them discovering the new mysteries of the Whisperers. But other than that, we probably won't see anything from
that's what it looks like.
They should cast Pete as the next big villain. That's what
Those were supposed to be a bunch of walkers up there, but it came out looking like
George Stevens says they should cast Pete as the next big villain.
yes. I'll show them.
He looks like one, doesn't he?
Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to
Final blast.
Have a final blast before we enjoy the enjoyment that is episode 6. That's Rickless, but 4 years or so ahead in time.
So we gotta say,
he would be introduced as a nice guy. George Stevens says, trustworthy. You know how it goes. Then people start disappearing. I love it, and I think I read it just the way you meant it to be read.
they just start disappearing. They're like, where's everybody going? It can't be George. It can't be Pete, right?
Pete the meat, and they have a meat cleaver or something. I don't know.
Pete the meat. I like it.
That's an old one. That's a past ego.
All in all, guys, we're excited for the future of The Walking Dead. Like I said earlier, we were about to say sayonara, and we got fish hooked back in with the old Rick Grimes, and that's the only reason why.
Good old-fashioned trick. The old Rick Grimes gets 2 movies.
Yeah, or possibly 3 movies and lives. I mean, AMC's getting pretty big now. Meow. And
one of our top fans. Give us some more views, and please remember, for all of you to give us some likes tonight.
Of course.
Or tomorrow when you decide to watch the show, then watch us. Or you missed the show and recorded it, and you want to pregame a little bit while you're cooking your meal or getting your popcorn ready.
Right.
You can watch us, like us, and then watch the show.
You got it, guys. And Pete, any final blast for you? Obviously, you guys know I'm excited and hopeful for the future.
I've only got one final blast, and that is ready, aim, Rick Grimes, bitch.
You guys enjoy episode 6 of season 9 of The Walking Dead, and we'll catch you guys next week for the review.
Enjoy the enjoyment. Peace.
Peace.